My name is Natalia Rosa, and I am the MD of African Brand Architect. We are not an architect firm, which is what sometimes some people think. We are a collective of specialist communications, marketing, and PR companies and professionals who support organizations which want to market to a pan-African audience or to market African innovation and excellence to the world. So we really have as our core vision to uplift the stories in the continent, to enhance the continent's reputation by showcasing the continent's opportunities from a business perspective and the fact that we have such a large consumer base here in Africa. So we like to shine a spotlight on excellence and creativity and innovation within Africa globally. Brands permeate our world. They create emotions, they drive our decisions, they generate loyalty, and this is in every aspect of our existence. It's not just limited to products, what we wear, what we use, the phones we use, where we live. It's even things like countries. Ghana has a brand. The Year of Return was a brand. Places, organizations, individuals, you have a personal brand, Renate. So we engage with brands every single day, and we don't even realize that we're doing it. And so what we focus on is that science of branding. So the days of a brand being just a logo or a tagline are long, long past. A brand is where a business starts. It's all the touch points of that engagement with a brand. It's internal and it's external. It's how you run your marketing. It's how your human resources department deals with your staff. It's how you work with customer complaints. It's how easy it is for customers to access your organization. It's the tone of how you communicate. It's what you say. It's the emotion you create in someone when they're working with you. It's how authentic you are in what you say versus what you actually deliver. So the value of a brand is the promise that you give your customer on what you are delivering, and all of those touch points on that delivery. It's the quality, the consistency, your competency, your reliability, your authenticity. It tells people who you are, what you do. It gives real meaning behind what your company does. So for me and for the team, it's really much more than a logo and a tagline. It's a culture. It's the essence that drives you as a personal brand and also your business. So our philosophy at African Brand Architects is based on delivering a marketing strategy and communication that draws attention to that promise, that generates that interest, and that also delivers on loyalty, because in the world within which we live, it's not enough to say you're going to do something, you have to act on it. And we are often not in the room when people are talking about our brands. So what can we do to engender that loyalty so that when we're not in the room, we have customers that are our advocates who actually talk about us in a positive way, so that we don't need to be in the room to talk about ourselves in a positive way. It's a lot more believable. Well, Renate, and you're having a conversation with someone from overseas and they say, oh, you come from Kenya. Do you know my friend Jim in Ghana? And there's this idea that Africa is this single market, that we all have the same interests and behaviors. And we actually understand that, you know, even within our own respective countries within Africa, we have very different interests, very different markets, very different ways of marketing to those specific populations within the different countries, and then within the countries, different segments. But I think the most exciting thing for us at African Brand Architects is this acknowledgement that we have the most youthful population. We have massive potential for growth in Africa. We're an attractive business and investment destination, but more, we have a very unique way of solving challenges and innovating and doing business. It's not like the rest of the world. we've sort of learned from the mistakes that some of the rest of the world has done, and we've leapfrogged that. And we really, I think, I always like to say, within constraints comes opportunity, because if you don't have a lot of choice, you get very creative. You know, when you have everything on your side, you don't need to be creative. But in Africa, because we have to solve so many challenges, we get to innovate a lot, we get to be creative. And that's what we do as African brand architects, is we look at that unique approach that Africa has to problem solving and the uniqueness of individuals and companies within Africa, and how our needs are different across the board, and market specifically to solve those specific problems, as opposed to saying, this is Africa, we all have the same problems, we all need the same solutions to those problems. We really want to be that strategic partner in reframing the narrative of Africa into the future. Africa is not homogeneous. It is an exciting conglomeration of dynamic, innovative, creative people who solve problems creatively, and we want to tell that story. And it's this Afropessimism that we see elsewhere in the world, and bringing it back to tourism, which is such a big mainstay on the African continent, where, you know, you have a massive second wave happening in India, and the media coverage around that second wave in India is automatically being linked to Africa. So although we're not part of that story, because of the Afropessimism that exists elsewhere in the world, we see ourselves getting pulled into that negative narrative, because there is this perception that, well, you know, if India hasn't got its act together with regards to vaccines, then surely Africa can't either, and surely Africa is in danger of a massive spread of COVID. So I think the challenge for us is getting stuck in the weeds of this Afropessimism that we see elsewhere in the world. The continent is home to more than 1 billion people, half of whom will be under 25 years old by 2050. That is massive human capital. And over and above this massive human capital, we have this incredible natural resource to help us deliver on the growth and ensure that Africans live healthier and more prosperous lives. So the opportunity is absolutely immense. You've got a huge free trade area, you've got a fast urbanizing region, you've got a 1.2 billion person market. I mean, this is fertile ground for brands to market to, brands internationally to market to Africans, but also African brands to market to Africans. You know, if you look at the size of the market, if you look at the youthfulness of the market, if you look at the strides that are being made to help Africans live more prosperous lives, in 5 to 10 years, you are going to have the most incredible market to market to. So there are important opportunities for growth that other parts of the world, which are leveling out in their growth, don't have. And so we see Africa as a really exciting space in terms of innovation and investment, and the demand for goods and services that is growing for brands on the African continent. So my advice for emerging businesses in Africa is to look at Africa, not to look outside. I know that it's sexy to say, well, I have a brand and I'm selling internationally. But actually, if you really look at the opportunity that exists within the continent in your own backyard, and you really tap into what it is that is needed in that backyard, you will go far. That would be the advice that I would give any brand. For me, and you're probably going to laugh, but for me, it's throwing out the rule book and really plug into the needs of the communities that you serve. So don't try and recreate something that you've seen elsewhere that has worked or with another company. Rather, look at the environment that you're in, understand what the circumstances are of that environment, what the pain points are of the community that you're trying to serve within that environment, and solve their pain points. I mean, if you think of things like M-Pesa, They didn't look at what other parts of the world were doing in terms of mobile payments. They looked at their scenario, their set of circumstances, and designed to solve a problem around that set of circumstances. So that would certainly be just chuck the rule book out, plug into the needs of your community, and don't get stuck in the weeds of Afropessimism. Rise to the challenge. We can do so much more than the rest of the world because of the opportunity that exists on this continent. I think a very important thing, and you will have realized this as well, Renate, in the last year, is that people are looking for humanity. So because of all this uncertainty that we faced as humans, we are looking for brands to be more than brands. We're looking for them to be human. We're looking for them to show us that they share our values of safety, of well-being, of connection, of sustainability. We're wanting them to be human. And we're wanting them to show us in actions, not in words, that they really care about us as their customers, as their community, and that they really care about making a meaningful difference. So if you are a brand in a COVID pandemic time and you really want to have an emotional connection with your customer, you've got to start thinking about service above self. So how can what you do really add value to your customer? How can you adapt to the customer's changing reality? How can you address the values they hold dear and their needs, not the other way around? And we want them to be authentic in that desire to adapt to us, to be human for us. And if they're not adapting to that, then we won't recommend them when they're not in the room. We won't share them with people who we share our values with. So I think my call to action would be to start with solving your customer's problem. Really look at what your customer's problems are and how you can solve them, and do it authentically. Don't just do it because you want publicity, but do it because you really, really care. And brands that do that, that manage to achieve that human connection, will succeed.
That's excellent. I've learned a lot from this short interview, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you very much, Natalia. Rosa, MD for African Brand Architects. And we at African Post Online and Magazine are excited to have you in for giving us this opportunity.
Thank you for the opportunity, Renate. It was a real pleasure speaking to you. And thank you for shining a light on the innovation and creativity and the opportunities that exist on our continent. It's lovely to connect with someone that has the same level of optimism and energy about our continent that we have. So thank you for all the work that you do in that space. And I look forward to collaborating with you going forward.